The earth remembers what we have forgotten. Beneath the soil and the stone, the bones of ancient worlds lie waiting to tell their story. Tonight our attention turns to a world before grass existed. Let the ages dissolve around you, sink gently into your pillow. The modern world can wait until morning. Let your eyelids grow pleasantly heavy. This is Forgotten Habitats. Let us begin. Imagine a time long before the first meadow ever bloomed, where the ground beneath your feet is a soft carpet of emerald moss. There is no whistling of wind through stalks of grain, no swaying of golden hills in the summer heat. Instead, the earth is draped in the intricate lace of ferns, their fronds unfurling in slow, deliberate spirals toward the dimming light. Beneath the towering canopy of the early Cretaceous, the soil is damp and rich with the scent of decay and rebirth. Every step you take sinks into a thick layer of decaying vegetable matter, a sponge of liverworts and hornworts that has persisted for eons. The absence of grass leaves the landscape looking stark, yet incredibly lush, filled with textures that feel alien to a modern eye. As the sun dips below the horizon of 125 million years ago, the atmosphere grows thick with the musk of cycad pollen. The sky is a bruised purple, fading into a deep indigo, where the first stars begin to pierce the hazy veil of volcanic ash. In this place, the silence is not empty, but filled with the low, vibrating hum of dragonflies with wings as wide as a man's arm. A low ridge of sandstone rises from the floodplain, its edges softened by the persistent growth of lichens. Here, a lone Gastonia moves with a methodical grace, its low-slung armored body brushing against the stiff leaves of a benetite. The clack of its bony plates creates a sharp, metallic note that echoes through the stillness of the cooling evening. The creature pauses, its blunt snout dipping toward a cluster of horsetails growing in the shadow of a fallen log. There is no rush in its movements, only the steady, measured pace of a life governed by the slow turning of the seasons. It breathes deeply, the humid mist curling from its nostrils in the cooling twilight as it tastes the minerals in the damp earth. Further down the slope, a grove of araucaria trees stands like silent sentinels against the darkening sky. Their branches are arranged in precise geometric tiers, covered in sharp, triangular leaves that glisten with the moisture of the evening. These trees have seen the rise and fall of countless lineages, their roots anchored deep in the red clay of the Cedar Mountain Formation. The ground here is a tapestry of shadows, where the light of the rising moon struggles to penetrate the dense foliage. Without the softening presence of grass, the shapes of the rocks and the roots are more pronounced, more skeletal. Everything feels weighted, as if the very gravity of this era is more substantial than the one we know. In the distance, the low rumble of a shifting tectonic plate vibrates through the soles of your feet, a reminder of the restless earth. It is a deep subsonic thrum that stirs the silt in the nearby creek, sending ripples across the glass-like surface of the current. The sound is a fundamental part of this landscape, a heartbeat that never truly ceases. A group of small, feathered dinosaurs skitters across a patch of bare sand, their movements jerky and precise. They leave behind a delicate trail of three-toed prints, soon to be filled by the rising tide of the night mist. Their chirps are sharp and brief, a contrast to the long, low sighs of the wind through the conifer needles. Near the edge of a slow-moving stream, the mud is thick and tenacious, holding the history of the day's visitors in its dark embrace. A massive footprint, deep enough to hold a gallon of the liquid, marks where a sauropod crossed hours ago. The edges of the track are already beginning to crumble as the moisture seeps back into the parched earth. The stream itself is a dark ribbon, winding its way through the valley with a quiet, persistent murmur. It carries with it the debris of the forest, bits of bark and broken fronds that swirl in the slow eddies near the shore. There is a sense of timelessness in the flow, a continuity that stretches back to the very dawn of life. High above, A pterosaur glides on the rising thermals, its leathery wings outstretched against the silver disk of the moon. It does not flap, but simply hangs there, a silhouette of grace in an era of giants. The atmosphere up there is cool and crisp, a sharp contrast to the stifling warmth of the forest floor. Back on the ground, the scent of wet stone and pine resin becomes more intense as the dew begins to form. Every leaf and every needle is soon adorned with a glistening bead of moisture, reflecting the faint light of the stars. The forest feels as though it is breathing, a collective intake of breath that held for 1,000,000 years. A Utahraptor moves through the shadows of a ginkgo grove, its feathers blending perfectly with the dappled moonlight. It is not hunting, but merely patrolling its territory, its amber eyes scanning the undergrowth for any sign of movement. The creature is a masterpiece of evolution, a silent predator in a world that is just beginning to find its voice. The absence of flowering plants means the colors of the night are muted, dominated by shades of charcoal, silver, and deep forest green. There are no bright petals to catch the eye, only the structural beauty of the gymnosperms and the ferns. It is a landscape of form and shadow, where every shape tells a story of survival. As the midnight hour approaches, the temperature drops and a thick fog begins to roll in from the distant mountains. It clings to the ground, obscuring the roots and the low-lying shrubs, turning the forest into a dreamscape of floating canopies. The world feels smaller now, more intimate, as if the fog has drawn a curtain around this specific moment in time. A fallen tree fern lies across the path, its trunk covered in a velvet coat of moss that glows faintly in the dimness. This decay is not an end, but a beginning, providing a home for beetles and millipedes that scuttle through the rotting wood. The cycle of life here is slow and methodical, unburdened by the frantic pace of later eras. In a clearing, a pool of stagnant water reflects the constellations of a younger universe, stars that have long since burned out or drifted away. The surface is occasionally broken by the rise of a lungfish, seeking a gulp of the heavy atmosphere before sinking back into the depths. The ripples spread outward, touching the stems of the horsetails that line the bank. The stillness of the night is absolute, broken only by the occasional snap of a dry branch or the distant call of a creature we will never name. It is a peace that feels earned, a quietude that has been millions of years in the making. You find yourself sinking into this tranquility, your own breath slowing to match the cadence of the forest. As the first hint of a pre-dawn glow begins to touch the eastern horizon, the shadows of the cycads stretch across the muddy banks, leading us toward the deeper mysteries of the floodplain. The landscape remains poised, caught in that brief, magical interval between the fading stars and the coming heat of the Cretaceous sun. The sun, a pale amber disk, emerges from the eastern horizon, casting long, lean shadows across the floodplain. There are no meadows here, no swaying stalks of wheat or rye, only the stiff architectural fronds of the ferns. These green plumes, some as tall as a man, carpet the earth in a textured sea of emerald and jade. The morning warmth is soft, carrying the scent of damp earth and the sharp, resinous tang of the conifers. As the light strengthens, the dew upon the Araucaria needles evaporates, creating a thin, shimmering mist that clings to the trunks. This is a landscape of structural complexity, where every plant is a fortress of lignin and wax. The gymnosperms stand like silent sentinels, their scaly bark reflecting the growing brilliance of the day. You can feel the temperature rising, a slow, steady pulse that awakens the dormant life within the undergrowth. A herd of Edmontosaurus moves with a deliberate, slow grace through a thicket of horsetails. Their skin, patterned in shades of slate and ochre, blends with the dappled shadows of the canopy above. They do not graze as a horse might, but rather browse, their beaks clipping the tough, silica-rich stems with a rhythmic, mechanical precision. The resonance of their low guttural bellows vibrates through the humid atmosphere, a call that carries for miles across the open flats. Beneath their massive feet, the soil is a rich, dark tapestry of decaying vegetable matter and fallen needles. Small, scurrying mammals, no larger than a common rat, dart between the protective roots of the ginkgo trees. These tiny creatures are the quiet observers of the Mesozoic, living in the margins of the giants. They forage for fallen seeds and dormant insects, their whiskers twitching at every change in the breeze. In the higher branches, the wind whispers through the stiff foliage, a noise that is more of a dry rattle than a soft rustle. There are no broad leaves to catch the wind, only the needles and scales of an era before the flowering plants took hold. The atmosphere feels weighted, saturated with the oxygen of a thriving, carbon-rich landscape. It is a clean, sharp smell, untainted by the perfumes of blossoms or the scent of ripening fruit. A Quetzalcoatlus glides silently above the river valley, its shadow a fleeting cross upon the silver current. With a wingspan as wide as a small plane, it navigates the thermals with effortless ease, its keen eyes searching for any sign of movement in the shallows. The river itself is a slow, meandering thread of bronze, carving its way through layers of sandstone and clay. It carries the mountain silt toward the distant sea, a journey that has lasted for epochs. Along the muddy banks, the tracks of a solitary theropod are preserved in the hardening clay. Each claw marks a testament to a journey taken hours before. The mud is thick, clinging to the stems of the liverworts that carpet the shoreline. There is a profound stillness here, a sense of a landscape that is perfectly content in its own slow evolution. The absence of birdsong is replaced by the clicking of giant dragonflies, their iridescent wings catching the light as they hover over the stagnant pools. The heat of the midday sun begins to press down upon the valley, turning the humidity into a visible haze. In this light, the cycads appear almost metallic, their crown of stiff leaves radiating outward from a central bulbous trunk. These plants are the survivors of a much older time, their lineage stretching back through the Triassic and into the Permian. They stand as living monuments to the resilience of life, their cones laden with the promise of the next generation. Deep within a shaded gully, a triceratops rests, its massive head lowered as it seeks relief from the intensifying warmth. The frill of its neck is a masterpiece of bone and skin, decorated with subtle patterns of mahogany and cream. It breathes slowly, its flanks rising and falling in a measure that matches the slow tempo of the forest. Here, in the shade, the air is several degrees cooler, smelling of moss and the cold, wet stone of the nearby cliff face. A trickle of water escapes from a crevice in the rock, feeding a lush patch of club moss that glows with an inner, vibrant green. This small oasis is a microcosm of the larger landscape, a place where the humidity is constant and the light is forever filtered. Beetles with shells as hard as gemstones crawl over the damp stones, their movements purposeful and unhurried. The cycle of life in this gully is a quiet affair, a series of small, significant moments that go unnoticed by the titans above. Beyond the gully, the landscape opens up into a sprawling delta, where the river divides into 100 smaller channels. The islands formed by these currents are thick with groves of cypress and redwood, their roots submerged in the tea-colored flow. This is a place of transition, where the terrestrial world meets the influence of the tides. The salt spray from the distant ocean mingles with the forest scents, creating a complex bracing aroma. An ankylosaurus wanders along the edge of a sandbar, its armored back reflecting the sun like a shield of burnished bronze. It moves with a heavy, swinging gait, its clubbed tail leaving a shallow furrow in the soft sand. It stops to drink, the surface of the channel rippling as it breaks the reflection of the clouds. The water is cool and refreshing, a brief reprieve from the dusty journey across the flats. The sky above is a deep, piercing blue, devoid of the soft whites of modern clouds, instead filled with the towering columns of volcanic ash from the distant horizon. These plumes are a reminder of the restless earth, the subterranean forces that shape the continents and dictate the climate. The ash falls like a fine grey snow in the far distance, enriching the soil for the forests of the future. It is a slow geological transformation, a process that spans millions of years. As we move further into the interior, the forest becomes denser, a labyrinth of fallen logs and vertical trunks. The sunlight struggles to reach the floor, creating a realm of permanent twilight. In this dimness, the fungi flourish, their pale, ghostly forms emerging from the rotting wood of fallen conifers. They are the recyclers of this era, breaking down the tough lignin and returning the nutrients to the thirsty roots of the living. The silence of the deep forest is absolute, a weighted quiet that feels as though it has never been broken. There is no wind here to stir the branches, only the occasional distant crack of a falling limb. You can hear the heartbeat of the landscape in the slow drip of moisture from the canopy, a steady, rhythmic count of the passing minutes. It is a place of profound contemplation, where the scale of time becomes almost tangible. In a clearing, a group of small theropods, no larger than turkeys, forage among the ferns. Their feathers are a soft charcoal grey, providing perfect camouflage against the shadowed ground. They communicate with soft, chirping notes, a language of clicks and whistles that is lost to the modern ear. They are agile and alert, their large eyes scanning the perimeter for any sign of a larger predator. The sun has passed its zenith, and the shadows are beginning to stretch once more, reaching out from the base of the cliffs. The heat remains, but the intensity has softened, replaced by a golden, honeyed light that bathes the entire valley. This is the hour of the long shadows, when the landscape takes on a three-dimensional quality that is both beautiful and haunting. The contours of the hills and the texture of the trees are emphasized, creating a scene of unparalleled depth. A gentle breeze begins to stir the tops of the tallest redwoods, a signal that the day is turning toward its eventual close. The atmosphere carries the faint scent of ozone, a hint of a distant storm that may bring rain to the parched plains. The world feels expectant, as if it is waiting for the next chapter in its long, unhurried story. Every stone, every leaf, and every creature is a part of this grand, silent narrative. We follow a path worn into the earth by generations of migratory herds, a trail that leads toward the cooling heights of the northern range. The ground is firm beneath us, a mix of compacted clay and the fossilized remains of even older forests. The history of this place is written in the layers of the earth, a vertical library of life and change. We are merely travelers through this specific moment, witnesses to a time of giants and ferns. The light begins to take on a purple hue as the first hints of evening approach, and the horizon softens into a blur of violet and rose. The transition is seamless, a slow fading of the day's brilliance into the quiet promise of the dusk. This landscape, so full of life and motion, is preparing for its period of rest. The journey continues, leading us deeper into the heart of this ancient, grassless world, where the mysteries of the deep past remain etched in the very air we breathe. The purple light of the high country deepens into a rich indigo. We find ourselves ascending the craggy slopes of the northern range, where the trees grow shorter and the wind carries a sharper, cleaner chill. The path narrows, winding between pillars of basalt that have stood for millions of years. Below us, the sea of conifers we just left is an expanse of charcoal, undulating in the fading light. Under the shelter of a granite overhang, a family of duck-billed dinosaurs huddles together for warmth. Their skin is patterned with intricate scales that catch the last glimmer of the fading sun. They are quiet now, their long necks tucked close to their bodies as they prepare for the cold night. The youngest among them let out soft, huffing breaths that bloom like tiny clouds in the cooling atmosphere. Moving higher, we encounter a thicket of ferns that have adapted to the thin soil of the peaks. These plants are tough and leathery, their fronds curling inward to protect against the coming frost. There is no grass here to soften the terrain, only the crunch of volcanic ash and the scrape of stone. The landscape feels stark and beautiful, a place where only the most resilient life can endure. In the deepening twilight, a pair of feathered hunters moves through the shadows with silent grace. These small predators are covered in a coat of downy plumage, insulating them against the mountain air. They do not hunt with the frantic energy of the day, but move with a measured, careful pace. Their large amber eyes are fixed on the movement of a small mammal scurrying beneath a fallen log. We reach a ledge that overlooks a hidden valley where the mist is beginning to pool like milk. The cliffs around us are draped in thick carpets of moss which hold the moisture of the clouds. This emerald padding muffles our footsteps, creating a sense of isolation from the rest of the landscape. It is a sanctuary of silence, high above the teeming life of the lowlands. A narrow stream of glacial melt trickles down the rock face, its flow a silver thread in the dimness. The liquid is icy and pure, carving a shallow channel through the grey stone over centuries. It makes a delicate murmur as it falls into a small pool, a vibration that resonates through the earth. We pause here, feeling the spray of the cold moisture on our skin. The first stars begin to pierce the velvet canopy of the sky, appearing one by one in the overhead expanse. These are the same constellations that have watched over this era for eons, unchanged by the passage of time. The sky is vast and clear, free from the haze of the warmer valleys below. Each point of light is a distant sun, casting a faint, ethereal glow over the rugged peaks. Near a cluster of charred redwoods, a massive three-horned herbivore rests its weighted head against a trunk. The creature is a mountain of muscle and bone, its thick hide scarred by the encounters of a long life. It breathes with a slow, deep measure, a pulse that seems to match the very heart of the hills. Even in sleep, it remains a formidable presence, a guardian of the high passes. Insects with wings like stained glass settle upon the broad leaves of the cycads, their activity slowing as the temperature drops. They are the pollinators of this archaic world, moving between the cones of the gymnosperms in a silent dance. Their iridescent bodies catch the starlight, shimmering with hues of copper and gold. The night belongs to them now, as the larger creatures find their places of rest. The scent of pine resin is strong here, a sharp and pleasant aroma that fills the lungs. It mingles with the smell of damp earth and the faint tang of ozone from a distant storm. This is the fragrance of the high forest, a sensory map of the flora that defines this era. It is a comforting scent, grounding us in the reality of this long-vanished place. On the far horizon, a dull orange glow illuminates the base of the clouds, marking the site of a volcanic vent. The earth is still restless, its internal heat finding ways to reach the surface through the crust. This distant fire provides a reminder of the forces that shape the terrain, building mountains and forging new paths for life. The glow is a steady, pulsing light, a beacon in the surrounding murk. Small furry creatures emerge from their burrows in the tree roots, their whiskers twitching in the cool breeze. These early mammals are the observers of the night, their keen senses tuned to the slightest movement. They forage for seeds and insects, their tiny paws making a soft patter on the moss. They are the quiet survivors, existing in the shadows of the giants that rule the day. A full moon rises over the jagged teeth of the range, casting a brilliant silver light across the valley. The landscape is transformed, its colors bleached away to leave a world of monochrome beauty. The shadows of the trees stretch out like long, dark fingers, reaching across the fern-covered ground. It is a moment of profound clarity, where every detail of the earth is etched in light. High above, a giant winged reptile glides on the thermal currents that still rise from the sun-warmed rocks. Its wingspan is immense, a silhouette of leathery skin against the bright face of the moon. It moves without effort, a phantom of the sky that surveys the mountain passes with a cold, piercing gaze. The creature is a master of the heights, a lonely traveler in the midnight air. The mist in the valley floor grows thicker, rising to meet the lower branches of the conifers. It moves like a living thing, flowing around the trunks and swallowing the bases of the cliffs. This white shroud brings a sense of mystery to the forest, hiding the familiar shapes of the trees. The world becomes a place of half-seen forms and muffled echoes. We find a quiet lake nestled in a cirque of stone, its surface as smooth as a sheet of polished obsidian. The reflection of the Milky Way is captured in the depths, creating the illusion of a sky beneath our feet. Not a single ripple disturbs the mirror of the stream, which has come to rest in this high basin. It is a place of perfect stillness, where the boundary between the earth and the heavens seems to dissolve. A gentle breeze stirs the fronds of the cycads, creating a soft rustle that sounds like falling rain. This is the only noise in the high woods, a rhythmic sigh that speaks of the movement of the atmosphere. The plants sway in a slow measure, their shadows dancing on the rocky ground. It is a peaceful cadence, a lullaby for the creatures that have found their beds. In a clearing protected by high walls of stone, a great predator lies curled in a deep sleep. Its breathing is a low, resonant vibration that can be felt in the soles of our feet. The king of the valley is at peace, its powerful limbs relaxed, and its predatory instincts stilled by the night. There is no malice here, only the natural cycle of exertion and recovery. Small clusters of bioluminescent beetles gather on the underside of the fern leaves, casting a soft green light. These tiny lanterns provide a map for others of their kind, a glowing language in the darkness. The light is cool and steady, a biological fire that defies the shadows of the forest. It is a beautiful display of the ingenuity of life, a spark of brilliance in the deep night. As the stars sharpen overhead, we move toward the silent, silvered expanse of the high plateau. The journey through the northern range has brought us to a place of clarity and quiet, far from the heat of the lowlands. The landscape is poised at the edge of a new day, but for now it remains held in the gentle grip of the stars. This transition is a bridge to the next stage of our journey, leading us toward the unexplored reaches of the dawn. We descend now, leaving the thin, chill atmosphere of the high peaks behind, as we follow a winding path of crushed stone. The descent is gradual, a long, sloping transition that leads us toward the humid warmth of the coastal lowlands. Below us, the horizon is a smudge of indigo, where the land meets the salt-scented reaches of a great inland sea. The scent of the ocean arrives on a warm breeze, carrying the tang of salt and the musk of decaying vegetation. It is a dense, rich aroma, a perfume of the late Cretaceous that speaks of abundance and decay. The path under our feet turns from hard rock to soft, damp sand. Marking our entry into the delta, before us, the landscape opens into a sprawl of fern-covered plains, a sea of green that stretches to the edge of the liquid horizon. There is no grass here, only the low, feathery fronds of polypods and tree ferns that blanket the earth in a velvet layer. These plants have held this ground for millions of years, their lineage enduring through the slow passage of geological time. The pulse of the tide is a distant, low-frequency hum, a vibration that resonates through the waterlogged soil. We move through a stand of tall, straight conifers, their trunks coated in sticky golden resin that catches the dying light. The atmosphere is saturated with the scent of pine and salt, a combination that feels both fresh and timeless. A group of broad-billed dinosaurs moves slowly through the fern breaks, their large bodies casting long, distorted shadows in the moonlight. These gentle giants are browsers of the low canopy, their movements slow and deliberate as they strip the fronds from the stems. They communicate with low, hooting calls that drift across the marsh, a language of deep tones and subtle vibrations. The mudflats of the estuary are a tapestry of silver and grey, reflecting the cold light of the stars in every shallow pool. Small armored fish dart between the roots of the mangroves, their scales flashing like scattered coins in the dark. This is a place of constant change, where the boundary between the land and the sea is rewritten with every surge of the tide. High above, a massive pterosaur glides on the cooling air, its wingspan spanning 30 feet as it searches for a place to roost. It moves with a silent grace, a phantom of the evening that seems to belong more to the sky than the earth. The creature finally finds a ledge on a limestone cliff, folding its leathery wings with a dry, rustling noise. In the undergrowth, a small, furry mammal scurries between the stems of the horsetails, its eyes bright with nocturnal curiosity. It is a humble creature, a survivor in a world of giants, finding its way by scent and touch in the dimness of the forest floor. The animal pauses to nibble on a fallen seed, its tiny heart beating a fast, frantic measure against the stillness of the night. The waves lap gently against the shore, leaving a trail of bioluminescent foam that glows with a ghostly blue light. This biological fire is the work of microscopic organisms, a shimmering display that marks the edge of the ocean. The spray from the breaking waves is cool on the skin, a refreshing mist that carries the energy of the deep sea. The moon rises higher, casting a brilliant silver path across the face of the lagoon, where the water lies as still as a sheet of glass. The reflection of the lunar disk is perfect, a second moon that floats in the depths of the estuary. It is a moment of profound clarity, where the landscape seems to hold its breath in anticipation of the coming dawn. The resinous scent of the conifers grows stronger as the temperature drops, a weighted fragrance that hangs in the still atmosphere. We find a trail, made by the passage of many heavy feet, a path through the ferns that leads toward the center of the delta. The ground is packed hard by the weight of the dinosaurs, a record of their movements across the terrain. A solitary predator, a massive theropod, stands at the edge of the clearing, its silhouette a jagged outline against the starry sky. It does not move, its keen senses focused on the murmurs of the night, its presence a reminder of the delicate balance of this ecosystem. The great hunter is not on the prowl, but simply observing its territory in the quiet hours of the midnight. Scavengers move through the shadows of the beach, their small, nimble forms darting between the driftwood and the seaweed. They are the cleaners of the coast, searching for the remains of the day's catch in the half-light of the moon. Their movements are quick and nervous, a contrast to the slow, steady pace of the larger herbivores inland. The noise of the marsh is a complex symphony of croaks, chirps, and the occasional splash of a leaping fish. It is a primordial song, a collection of sounds that have echoed through these wetlands for countless generations. Every creature contributes its own note to the chorus, creating a texture of life that is both chaotic and harmonious. In this era, the absence of grass creates a unique visual texture, where every inch of the ground is covered by the intricate patterns of fern leaves. The hills are not rolling pastures, but rugged mounds of green fronds that sway in the breeze. It is a world of detail, where the structure of every leaf is a testament to the success of the archaic flora. The geological age of this place is felt in the layers of sediment that line the banks of the river, each one a chapter in the history of the earth. We are walking on the remains of a long-vanished world, a place that exists now only in the silent record of the stone. The landscape is a living museum, a gallery of forms and functions that have been refined by the passage of time. A soft rain begins to fall, the drops whispering as they strike the broad leaves of the cycads and the surface of the pools. The rain is warm and gentle, a light veil that softens the edges of the forest and brings a new scent to the atmosphere. It is the smell of wet earth and clean moisture, a fragrance that signals the renewal of the cycle. Distant lightning flickers over the horizon of the sea, a silent flash of violet that illuminates the clouds for a brief second. The storm is far away, a reminder of the power of the elements that shape the coast. The thunder follows much later, a low, rolling vibration that is barely audible above the hiss of the rain. The hadrosaur herd has found a sheltered spot beneath a grove of tall ferns, their massive bodies huddled together for warmth. They are at rest, their breathing a steady communal pulse that fills the clearing with a sense of security. The landscape is quiet now, the creatures of the delta easing toward the deepest part of the night. As the first hint of grey appears in the eastern sky, we move toward the edge of the wetlands, where the river meets the open sea. The transition from the night to the morning is a slow, deliberate process, a shifting of the light that reveals the true scale of the coastal expanse. We stand at the threshold of a new beginning, watching as the stars fade and the world prepares for the return of the sun. The horizon where the sea meets the sky glows with a pale, pearlescent light as the stars retreat into the deepening blue. Along the rugged cliffs of this late Cretaceous coastline, the atmosphere is cool, carrying the sharp, mineral scent of salt and pulverized stone. There is no green carpet of turf here, only the stark, weathered faces of the limestone and the dark, tangled masses of kelp clinging to the rocks below. The morning is quiet, save for the rhythmic surge of the tide, a steady, pulsing motion that has defined the edges of this land for millions of years. High above the crashing surf, on narrow ledges of white rock, the winged masters of the sky stir from their rest. These pterosaurs, with their immense leathery wings folded tight against their bodies, wait for the first warmth of the sun to stir the rising currents. Their long, slender beaks are tucked beneath their wings, and their crests, intricate and colorful, catch the faint light of the dawn. It is a slow awakening, a gradual transition from the stillness of the night to the activity of the day. Moving inland, the terrain shifts into a dense thicket of giant horsetails, their segmented stalks rising like pillars from the damp earth. These plants, survivors from an even more archaic age, dominate the lowlands, their green, needle-like branches dripping with the condensation of the night. The ground beneath them is a soft, springy layer of decaying organic matter, a rich mulch that feeds the next generation of spores. Every step through this forest of reeds produces a muffled, hollow sound as the stalks brush against one another in the morning breeze. Small, furry mammals, no larger than a modern opossum, move through the undergrowth with a quiet, purposeful grace. They are the foragers of the shadows, their large eyes reflecting the dim light as they search for insects and fallen seeds among the debris. Their whiskers twitch, sensing the minute vibrations of the forest floor, a delicate cadence of life that exists beneath the notice of the larger giants. To them the lack of grass is not a void, but an opportunity, a maze of ferns and mosses that provides endless cover. Beyond the horsetail marshes, the landscape rises into a series of rolling hills, covered in a dense carpet of low-growing ferns. These are the fern prairies, a sea of green fronds that stretches toward the distant mountains, swaying in unison as the wind moves across the slopes. The texture of the ground is intricate, a tapestry of lace-like leaves and curling fiddleheads that are just beginning to unfurl. In this era, the green of the hills is a deeper, more somber shade than the pastures of the future, a testament to the dominance of the spore-bearing plants. In the distance, the silhouettes of a herd of three-horned dinosaurs emerge from the morning haze, their massive forms moving slowly across the fern-covered ridges. They are the architects of this landscape, their heavy footsteps creating paths that will be followed by countless others. They graze on the tough, fibrous fronds, their beaks shearing through the vegetation with a mechanical efficiency. The noise of their feeding is a low, grinding murmur, a constant background note to the awakening world. As the sun climbs higher, the light begins to penetrate the canopy of a nearby conifer forest, casting long, dappled shadows across the forest floor. These trees, tall and straight, are the giants of the upland, their needles forming a thick, aromatic carpet that muffles the sound of the wind. The atmosphere here is different, warmer and more resinous, filled with the scent of pine and cedar. It is a place of sanctuary, where the light is filtered and the heat of the sun is kept at bay by the dense evergreen branches. Near the base of a large ginkgo tree, a group of smaller bipedal dinosaurs pauses to drink from a shallow pool. Their movements are fluid and bird-like, their heads bobbing as they scan the surrounding woods for any sign of danger. The skin of the water is perfectly still, reflecting the golden leaves of the ginkgo and the pale blue of the sky above. These creatures are the messengers of the forest, their quick, darting motions a contrast to the slow, deliberate pace of the larger herbivores. Further up the slopes, the vegetation becomes sparser, giving way to rocky outcrops and fields of volcanic ash. Here the heat of the earth is still felt, a lingering warmth from the subterranean fires that shape the geography of this region. Wisps of steam rise from narrow fissures in the ground, curling into the atmosphere like ghostly ribbons. It is a harsh, unforgiving environment, yet even here, small, hardy ferns find a way to cling to the cracks in the stone, their resilience a hallmark of life in this age. From this high vantage point, the true scale of the coastal plain is revealed, a sprawling expanse of green and brown that meets the shimmering edge of the sea. The river we followed through the night is a silver thread, winding its way through the marshes and forests toward the delta. The landscape is a mosaic of habitats, each one interconnected by the flow of nutrients and the movement of the creatures that inhabit them. It is a world in balance, a complex system that has functioned for eons without the presence of a single blade of grass. In a sheltered ravine where the moisture of the river persists throughout the day, a hidden garden of mosses and liverworts thrives. These tiny plants, some of the most primitive on Earth, form a lush emerald velvet over the damp stones and fallen logs. The air in the ravine is cool and humid, a microclimate that preserves the conditions of a much older era. It is a quiet, contemplative space where the only noise is the gentle drip of water from the mossy overhangs. On the banks of a slow-moving stream, a group of long-necked giants has gathered to rest in the midday warmth. Their bodies are partially submerged in the shallows, the cool current providing relief from the rising temperature. They are silent, their long necks swaying slowly as they watch the dragonflies that hover above the reeds. The scene is one of profound peace, a moment of stillness in a world that is constantly in motion. The weight of their presence is felt in the way the sediment shifts beneath them, a physical connection to the earth. As we move toward the edge of a wide, sun-drenched plateau, the vegetation shifts once more, becoming a garden of cycads and palm-like trees. These plants, with their stout trunks and crown of stiff, waxy leaves, are the survivors of the dry seasons. Their cones, some as large as a man's head, are filled with bright, colorful seeds that attract the attention of the local fauna. The light here is intense, reflecting off the polished surfaces of the leaves and creating a shimmering golden haze over the landscape. Among the cycads, the first true flowers are beginning to appear, small and inconspicuous compared to the magnificent blooms of the future. These early angiosperms are a sign of things to come, a quiet revolution that will eventually transform the face of the planet. For now they are a rarity, a curious detail in a world dominated by ferns and conifers. Their presence is marked by the arrival of specialized beetles, which crawl over the petals in search of pollen, a partnership that is millions of years old. On the mudflats near the estuary, the receding tide has left behind a gallery of footprints, a record of the morning's activity. Large three-toed tracks cross paths with the delicate prints of smaller reptiles and the scurrying marks of crabs. These trails are a testament to the diversity of life that congregates at the edge of the sea, a place where the resources of the land and the ocean meet. The mud is thick and grey, drying quickly in the sun and preserving the history of the day for a few brief hours. In the shade of a massive fallen log, a predator lies in wait, its breathing slow and shallow. It is not hunting but resting, its powerful limbs tucked beneath its body as it avoids the heat of the noon sun. Its scales, patterned with shades of brown and olive, blend perfectly with the decaying wood and the surrounding ferns. It is a master of camouflage, a silent observer of the ecosystem it helps to regulate. The landscape is still, the creatures of the forest moving into the deeper shadows to escape the brilliance of the day. High above, the pterosaurs have finally taken to the sky, their shadows gliding over the treetops like phantom ships. They soar on the thermals, their wings outstretched and motionless, as they scan the ocean for the silver flash of fish. Their calls, sharp and piercing, echo across the cliffs, a sound that has remained unchanged for geological ages. They are the guardians of the coast, the link between the terrestrial world and the boundless expanse of the sea. The wind blowing off the ocean carries the scent of distant storms and the salt of 1,000 miles of open water. It ruffles the fronds of the tree ferns and stirs the branches of the ginkgos, a gentle reminder of the constant change that defines the planet. The atmosphere is clear and bright, the morning mist having long since evaporated into the blue. It is a moment of clarity, a chance to see the landscape in its full primordial glory, before the shadows begin to lengthen once again. As the midday sun reaches its zenith, the world seems to hold its breath, the activity of the morning subsiding into a quiet, sun-drenched stillness. The creatures of the delta, the forest and the cliffs, have all found their places of rest, waiting for the heat to pass. The landscape in all its intricate detail is a monument to the endurance of life, a testament to the beauty of a world that existed long before the first grass ever took root. We stand in the center of this timeless scene, part of the cadence of the earth. The transition into the afternoon is a subtle shift in the light, a softening of the shadows that signals the next chapter of the day. We move forward, leaving the coast behind and heading toward the heart of the great inland basins where the true giants of the age await. The journey continues through the endless forests and the sprawling fern prairies, a path that leads us deeper into the mysteries of this long-vanished era, where every step is a discovery of the archaic and the magnificent. The transition from the salt-scented coast into the deep inland basins is marked by a change in the very breath of the landscape. The atmosphere becomes thicker, laden with the scent of damp earth and the sweet, cloying aroma of conifer resin. Here, in this wide depression, the trees reach upward like the columns of a cathedral, their branches draped in mosses that have never known the touch of a flower. We move through a forest of giants where the trunks of araucaria trees rise 60 feet before their first limbs spread toward the light. The ground is a soft, yielding carpet of low-lying vegetation, a springy layer of club mosses and liverworts that cushion every step. There is no grass here to rustle in the breeze, only the stiff, rhythmic swaying of horsetails and the delicate unfolding fronds of 1,000,000 ferns. In the distance, the low, resonant vibration of a deep-chested call rolls across the valley floor, a note so low it is felt in the marrow of the bone. It is the voice of a titan, a creature whose scale defies the modern imagination, moving through the trees with the grace of a slow-moving river. As we approach the edge of a sun-dappled clearing, the first of the herd comes into view, its long, tapering neck reaching into the high canopy. This is a diplodocus, a marvel of biological engineering, its grey, pebbled skin shimmering with a faint, iridescent sheen where the light catches the moisture on its flanks. It moves with a deliberate, unhurried pace, its massive weight distributed across limbs that resemble the trunks of the very trees it feeds upon. The herd is a community of giants moving in a silent, unspoken harmony through the lush, primeval greenery. Younger animals, perhaps only 20 feet in length, trot beside their massive elders, their movements more energetic and less certain. They nip at the tender new growth of the cycads, their small heads darting among the stiff, sharp leaves with surprising precision. The sound of their feeding is a continuous, gentle crunching, the snapping of woody stems, and the grinding of plant matter between peg-like teeth. It is a peaceful scene, a moment of profound ecological stability, where the giants of the age find all they need in the abundance of the fern-choked plains. Near the center of the basin, a slow-moving stream carves a winding path through the soft, silty soil, its banks lined with dense thickets of equisetum. The flow is clear but dark, stained the color of tea by the tannins of fallen needles and decaying wood. A group of Stegosaurus has gathered at the edge of the pool, their plated backs catching the golden light of the late afternoon. They lower their small, narrow heads to drink, the movement causing the light to dance across the rows of bony plates that line their spines. These plates, rich with blood vessels, act as thermal regulators, absorbing the warmth of the sun to power the animals through the coming cooler hours. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the western horizon, the colors of the basin shift from vibrant greens to deep saturated ochres and purples. The shadows of the trees stretch out like long, dark fingers across the fern prairies, creating a mosaic of light and shade. A small theropod, no larger than a modern turkey, darts through the undergrowth, its feathers a mix of russet and gold, camouflaging it against the leaf litter. It pauses, 1 foot raised, its large, intelligent eyes scanning the forest floor for the movement of insects or small lizards. It is a reminder that even in a world dominated by giants, the small and the swift have their place in the intricate web of life. High above, the canopy is a riot of geometric patterns, the star-shaped leaves of ginkgos mingling with the needle-like foliage of the podocarps. There is a profound architectural beauty to these plants, their forms refined over millions of years to thrive in this humid, carbon-rich environment. The air is still, the wind having died down to a mere whisper that barely stirs the highest branches of the forest. In this stillness, the hum of life becomes more apparent, the buzz of large, prehistoric dragonflies as they patrol the margins of the swampy clearings. Their wings, spanning nearly 2 feet, catch the light like shards of stained glass as they hover and then dart with incredible speed. We find a place of rest on a moss-covered outcrop of sandstone overlooking the broad expanse of the central basin. From here the scale of the landscape is truly visible, a sea of green that stretches as far as the eye can see, broken only by the silver threads of the rivers. The herd of sauropods has moved deeper into the forest, their long tails leaving sweeping trails through the dense ferns. The silence of the afternoon is broken only by the occasional distant snap of a falling branch, or the liquid trill of an early nocturnal creature waking to the dimming light. It is a world that feels complete, a self-sustaining masterpiece of evolution and environment operating on a timescale that dwarfs the human experience. As the golden hour fades into the soft blue light of dusk, the temperature in the basin starts to drop, a refreshing coolness rising from the damp ground. The humidity remains, a comforting heavy blanket that holds the scents of the forest close to the earth. We can smell the sharp, citrusy tang of crushed conifer needles and the deep, musky odor of the great herbivores that have passed this way. The sky above is a pale, translucent violet, the first of the evening stars, beginning to twinkle through the thinning clouds. It is a moment of transition as the diurnal creatures seek the safety of the thickets and the hunters of the night prepare to emerge. In the deepening gloom, the forms of the trees become silhouettes, their jagged outlines etched against the fading light of the sky. The fern prairies, once a sea of green, are now a vast undulating shadow, a landscape of mystery and hidden movement. A large predator, an Allosaurus, moves silently through the trees, its powerful limbs making no sound on the soft, mossy ground. It is not hunting but patrolling its territory, its head moving from side to side as it tastes the atmosphere, for the scent of its kin. Its presence is a reminder of the delicate balance between the giants and those who keep their numbers in check. We watch as the moon, a pale silver orb, rises over the jagged peaks of the mountains that ring the basin. Its light spills over the landscape, turning the mist that rises from the river into a glowing ethereal veil. The world seems to pull a shroud of silver over itself as it prepares for the long, quiet hours of the night. The giants have found their places of rest, their massive bodies huddled together for warmth and protection. Their slow, deep breathing, a rhythmic pulse that echoes the heart of the earth. The stillness is profound, a deep restorative quiet that settles over the basin like a blessing. In the hollow of a fallen log, a small furry mammal, curled into a tight ball, waits for the safety of total blackness to begin its nocturnal forage. Its tiny heart beats with a rapid, frantic tempo, a stark contrast to the slow, measured pace of the dinosaurs. It represents the future, a lineage that will one day inherit the world, but for now it is a humble inhabitant of the shadows. The forest floor is alive with the tiny glowing lights of bioluminescent fungi, their soft green radiance illuminating the underside of the ferns like miniature lanterns. It is a hidden world of beauty that only reveals itself when the sun has long since departed. As we sit in the cool, moonlit air, we feel a deep sense of connection to this long-vanished era, a time when the planet was a very different place. There is a simplicity to the life here, a directness of purpose that is both humbling and peaceful. The cycles of the day and the night, the seasons of rain and of growth, all move with a certainty that is older than the mountains themselves. We are privileged to witness this moment of quietude in the heart of the great basin before the journey takes us further into the highlands. The stars above are the same that will one day guide the navigators of our own time, a bridge of light across the millions of years. The wind, now a cool, steady breeze, carries the sound of a distant waterfall, a constant, soothing murmur that lulls the inhabitants of the forest into a deeper sleep. It stirs the tops of the tallest trees, causing them to creak and groan like the masts of a great fleet at anchor. This is the music of the Jurassic, a symphony of natural sounds that has played for eons without an audience. We let the sound wash over us, a cleansing, restorative flow that clears the mind and readies the spirit for the rest that is to come. In the soft silver light, the ferns seem to glow, their intricate patterns highlighted by the moonbeams that filter through the canopy. Each frond is a work of art, a testament to the enduring success of a plant that has survived through countless ages. We reach out and touch the cool, damp surface of a nearby leaf, feeling the ridges and the veins that carry the lifeblood of the plant. It is a tangible link to the prehistoric past, a moment of physical contact with a world that is usually only found in dreams. The moss beneath us is cold and wet, a reminder of the constant life-giving moisture that defines this ecosystem. The night is now at its deepest point, the world held in a state of perfect, motionless suspension. Even the insects have fallen silent, their buzzing replaced by the soft, rhythmic sighing of the wind through the needles. The basin is a sanctuary, a place of safety and of peace, where the struggles of the day are forgotten in the quiet of the moonlight. We feel the weight of the ages pressing down on us, not as a burden, but as a comfort, a reminder of the vast, enduring nature of life. It is a time for reflection and for rest, a moment to simply be a part of the landscape. As we prepare to leave this place, we take one last look at the sleeping giants, their forms barely visible in the deep blue shadows. They are the masters of this world, the true kings of the basin, and their presence lends a sense of majesty to the night. We move slowly toward the edge of the valley, our steps light and careful, so as not to disturb the silence. The path ahead leads us upward, away from the humid depths, and toward the cooler, thinner atmosphere of the highlands. The transition is subtle, a gradual change in the scent of the air and the texture of the ground beneath our feet. The journey through the basin has been a revelation, a chance to see the world as it was before the first grass ever appeared. It is a landscape of ferns and conifers, of giants and shadows, a place where the history of the earth is written in the mud and the stone. We carry the memory of this place with us, a treasure of sights and sounds that will stay with us long after the night has ended. The giants move with a slow, deliberate grace, their massive forms disappearing into the deepening violet of the evening, as we turn our attention toward the cooling highlands that rise beyond the basin's edge. The slope rises beneath our feet, a steady incline of loose shale and crushed volcanic glass. The humidity of the lower basin fades, replaced by a crisp, sharp clarity that fills the lungs with a cooling silver chill. Here the vegetation changes its character, the lush, broad fronds of the lowlands giving way to the hardy, needle-leafed giants of the heights. Each step takes us further from the damp, heavy heat and into a realm of stone and wind. The atmosphere grows thin and sharp, carrying the scent of frozen stone and the bitter medicinal tang of crushed resin. We are entering the highland forests, where the araucaria trees stand like sentinels against the starlit sky. Their branches are geometric and stiff, covered in sharp triangular scales that clatter softly as the breeze moves through them. It is a noise like the rattling of dry bones or the shifting of 1,000 tiny shields. Beneath these towering conifers, the ground is a mosaic of silver lichen and deep emerald moss. There is no grass to cushion our steps, only the firm, unyielding presence of the rock and the soft, springy carpet of fallen needles. The light of the moon filters through the sparse canopy, casting long, needle-thin shadows across the path. We move with a slow, deliberate pace, respecting the stillness of this high, lonely place. A small, feathered creature, no larger than a magpie, scuttles across a fallen trunk, its claws clicking against the bark. It pauses for a moment, its large, dark eyes reflecting the moonlight before vanishing into the safety of the undergrowth. This is a world of small, hidden lives surviving in the cracks and crevices of the mountainside. The larger giants of the valley are far below us now, their presence marked only by the faint, low vibration of their calls. We reach a ledge, a natural balcony of basalt that overlooks the sprawling forest below. From here the basin looks like a sea of undulating shadows, broken only by the silver ribbon of the river. The mist that we once walked through is now a white, ethereal blanket, clinging to the floor of the valley. It looks like a frozen lake, silent and motionless in the cold light of the stars. The wind here is a constant companion, a low, mournful sigh that speaks of the immense distances of the mountain range. It carries the chill of distant peaks where the snow never melts and the atmosphere is too thin for most life to endure. We pull our senses inward, focusing on the immediate details of the stone and the bark. The texture of the basalt is rough and porous, holding the last faint warmth of the setting sun. A high-altitude stream trickles over a bed of smooth, dark pebbles, its voice a delicate, tinkling melody. The current is clear and icy, fed by the melting frost of the peaks above us. We pause to watch the way the light plays on the skin of the flow, creating patterns of liquid silver that dance and disappear. It is a small, perfect moment of purity in a landscape defined by its archaic and rugged beauty. Further up the trail, a group of small bipedal dinosaurs huddle together for warmth in the lee of a great rock formation. Their bodies are covered in a thick, downy coat of primitive feathers, a protection against the nighttime chill of the highlands. They do not stir as we pass, their breathing synchronized and slow, a testament to the quiet endurance of life. They are part of the mountain as much as the stone and the trees. The trees themselves change again as we climb, higher still, the ginkgos giving way to stunted, wind-sculpted pines. Their trunks are twisted and gnarled, bearing the scars of 1,000 winter storms and the relentless pressure of the wind. Yet they endure, their roots anchored deep in the cracks of the granite, holding fast against the elements. They are symbols of resilience in a place where only the strongest and most patient can survive. The silence of the heights is profound, a weighted and absolute stillness that seems to press against the ears. It is not a void but a presence, a deep contemplative quiet that invites reflection and peace. We feel the pulse of the planet in the slow, rhythmic shifting of the shadows and the steady, unblinking gaze of the stars. It is a cadence that has remained unchanged for millions of years, a measure of time that transcends the human experience. We find a sheltered hollow beneath the roots of an age-old conifer, where the air is still and the ground is dry. The scent of dry earth and old wood is comforting, a familiar and grounding aroma in this alien landscape. We rest for a time, letting the fatigue of the climb wash away in the cool mountain atmosphere. The night is a blanket that covers us, providing a sense of safety and seclusion. In the distance, a flash of volcanic light flickers on the horizon, a reminder of the restless and fiery heart of the earth. It is a silent and beautiful display, the orange glow reflecting off the undersides of the high, thin clouds. It does not disturb the peace of the highlands, but adds a sense of grandeur and scale to the night. This era is one of creation and destruction, a time of constant and magnificent change. A large winged shape glides silently across the face of the moon, its wingspan immense and graceful. It is a pterosaur, a master of the high currents, moving with an effortless and fluid motion. It does not flap its wings, but simply rides the invisible rivers of air, a ghost in the silver light. We watch it until it disappears into the shadows of the higher peaks, a fleeting and magical sight. The stars above us are brilliant, and many their light undimmed by the haze of the lower atmosphere. We see the familiar constellations of the prehistoric sky, patterns of light that have guided the wanderers of this world for eons. They are a constant, a fixed point in a landscape that is always in a state of flux. Their beauty is cold and distant, yet strangely reassuring. We continue our journey, moving along a narrow ridge that connects two great mountain massifs. The path is precarious, with steep drops on either side into the deep blue murk of the ravines. We move with care, our eyes fixed on the ground immediately in front of us. The stone is cold and slippery, with a fine dusting of frost that glitters like diamonds in the moonlight. A small mountain lake lies ahead, its surface as smooth and dark as a sheet of polished obsidian. It reflects the stars with such perfect clarity that it is hard to tell where the sky ends and the flow begins. We walk along the edge of the pool, our footsteps muffled by the thick, damp moss that grows at the lip. The stillness of the place is absolute, a moment of perfect and undisturbed tranquility. On the far side of the pool, a massive, long-necked dinosaur stands motionless, its head lost in the shadows of the trees. It is a solitary wanderer of the heights, a giant that has sought the solitude of the mountains. Its presence is a reminder that even the largest of creatures need a place of quiet and of rest. We pass by without a sound, leaving the giant to its lonely vigil. The descent toward the high plateau is gradual, the terrain opening up into a wide and windswept expanse. Here the trees are fewer and further between, replaced by vast fields of low-growing ferns and hardy mountain shrubs. The wind whistles through the gaps in the rocks, a high-pitched and lonely noise that echoes across the plateau. It is a landscape of stark and rugged beauty, a place of light and shadow. We find a path that leads us toward a sheltered canyon, where the atmosphere is calmer and the temperature more moderate. The walls of the canyon are high and steep, carved by the action of wind and rain over countless millennia. They are striped with bands of red and ochre colors that are muted and soft in the moonlight. This is a place of sanctuary, a hidden and secret world within the mountains. As we enter the canyon, we feel a sense of homecoming, a feeling of being exactly where we are meant to be. The journey through the highlands has been long and challenging, but it has also been a time of discovery and of peace. We move deeper into the heart of the canyon, our steps light and easy as we prepare to rest for the remainder of the night. The stars look down on us with a kind and ancient light as we find a soft mossy bed near the base of a great weeping conifer. The moss beneath us feels like a thick velvet carpet, yielding with every gentle press. Here, in the shelter of the canyon, the atmosphere is stilled, protected from the biting winds of the high plateau. The weeping conifer above drapes its long, slender branches like a protective curtain over our chosen resting place. A small trickle of a stream moves through the center of the canyon, its murmur a low and constant presence. It flows over smooth river stones polished by time and the relentless passage of the current. The liquid catches the moonlight in flashes of silver as it winds its way toward the distant lowlands. High above, on the narrow ledges of the canyon walls, the silhouettes of great winged reptiles are visible. These pterosaurs have tucked their wings tight against their bodies, seeking refuge from the night chill. They are silent sentinels of the heights, their presence adding to the sense of profound peace that fills this hidden space. The walls of this limestone sanctuary are decorated with the shadows of ferns and cycads. These plants have stood the test of millions of years, their forms unchanged, while the mountains rose around them. There is no grass here, only the intricate lace of fronds and the sturdy trunks of tree ferns that reach toward the stars. Across the canyon floor, a small mammal with a long pointed snout and a bushy tail emerges from the leaf litter. It is an alphadon, a tiny pioneer of the shadows, searching for fallen seeds or dormant insects. Its movements are quick but quiet, a delicate dance in the leaf mold of the forest floor. The scent of the canyon is rich and earthy, a blend of damp stone, decaying wood, and the sweet perfume of conifer resin. It is a fragrance that has filled the nostrils of creatures for countless generations, a constant in an ever-changing landscape. We breathe it in deeply, letting it fill our lungs and calm our minds. Looking toward the canyon mouth, we can see the distant glow of a volcanic peak on the horizon. The fire of the earth is a reminder of the powerful forces that shape this era, a slow and majestic display of creation and destruction. The light is soft and orange, a warm contrast to the cool blue of the moonlight. A large triceratops moves slowly through the undergrowth near the canyon entrance, its 3 horns gleaming in the half-light. It is a massive and powerful animal, yet it moves with a grace and quietness that is surprising for its size. It stops to browse on a patch of tough horsetails, the crunching of the plants, the only sound in the stillness. The night sky is a tapestry of unfamiliar stars, their light filtered through the thin atmosphere of the high altitude. We can see the faint band of the Milky Way stretching across the heavens, a river of light in the primordial blackness. It is a view that has inspired wonder in the eyes of all who have looked upon it as we lie on our mossy bed. We feel the slow pulse of the earth beneath us. It is a steady and reassuring beat, a connection to the deep time of the planet and the cycles of life that have played out over eons. We are but a small part of this immense story, a brief moment in the long history of the world. A light mist begins to drift into the canyon from the plateau above, veiling the trees and rocks in a soft white shroud. It moves with the gentle breath of the night wind, a ghostly presence that adds to the mystery of the place. The world feels even more secluded and peaceful, wrapped in this ethereal blanket. The stream continues its quiet journey, the flow of the liquid, a soothing lullaby that lulls us towards sleep. Its cadence is regular and rhythmic, a natural melody that has no beginning and no end. We listen to its song, letting it wash over us and carry away any remaining tension. In the distance, we hear the low call of a hadrosaur, a haunting and melodic noise that echoes through the night. It is a sound of communication and connection, a reminder that even in the dimness we are never truly alone. The call is answered by another, further away, a gentle conversation between giants. The stars seem to grow brighter as the night deepens, their light reflecting in the small pools of the current. Each point of light is a sun far away, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the beauty of the cosmos. We feel a sense of awe and humility in the face of such grandeur. The weeping conifer sways gently in the breeze, its branches whispering a secret language that only the night can understand. It is a sound of peace and contentment, a sign that all is well in this hidden corner of the world. We close our eyes and let the whispering of the trees guide us into a state of deep relaxation. The alphodon has found a safe burrow beneath the roots of a large fern and has curled up for the night. Its tiny heart beats in a steady measure, a small spark of life in the immense stillness of the canyon. It is at rest, as are all the other creatures of this prehistoric sanctuary. We feel the cool touch of the night atmosphere on our skin, a refreshing and invigorating sensation. It is the breath of the planet, a reminder of the vitality and energy that flows through all things. We inhale the chill, letting it clear our minds and prepare us for the dreams to come. The canyon is a place of deep and enduring peace, a sanctuary where the worries of the world cannot reach us. It is a home for the spirit, a place where we can reconnect with the natural order and find our true selves. We are grateful for this moment of stillness and reflection, as the first faint light of dawn begins to touch the highest peaks of the mountains. We are already far away in the land of sleep. The journey through the world before grass has been a long and beautiful one, filled with wonder and discovery. We carry the memory of this place with us, a source of strength and peace in the days to come. The stars fade slowly into the pale blue of the morning sky as the world prepares for a new day. But for now there is only the quiet and the rest and the deep peace of the canyon. We drift further into the shadow, our breath slowing to match the steady pulse of the earth as the final echoes of the night fade into the morning light. Thank you for wandering through deep time with me tonight. Until next time, on Forgotten Habitats, sleep well.